Hello everyone, welcome back to Edible Abundance Homestead. I'm Ginger and it is June 2nd. I don't know how it got to be June already. Lots to do. Running. Okay, so real quick, here we are by the garden. I mostly cleared this section out. I still have a few weeds to get to. Today, right now, actually, my kids are loading the car. We are running to a local alpaca farm. We are going to get some alpaca manure. Alpaca manure is like rabbit manure. It's cold, so you can put it directly on a garden. You don't have to age it or compost it. We visited this farm, gosh, maybe back in March or so with our homeschool group. And, you know, she mentioned if anyone was a gardener that they would give their some of their manure away. She said they tried to sell it and they didn't have much luck. So at this point they were just trying to give it away. I'm taking her a dozen eggs. So I feel like that's pretty good payment for poop. So anyway, this is where I'm going to plant corn, beans, and maybe a pumpkin. I haven't decided. I'm still thinking about that. I looked up this Three Sisters, layouts, some of the different suggested layouts. And none of them grow quite as much corn as I'm hoping to grow. So I'm thinking I'm just going to kind of wing it and make it up myself. You don't have to follow the rules all the time. We'll try it. If it works, great. And if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. It's not, it's going to grow. It might just not be, yikes, as ideal or as, beneficial to each other as the layouts, but that's fine. So I already have a few bean plants planted here. I'm going to get that alpaca manure worked into the ground and get that corn planted as soon as I can. The corn should have been planted like a month ago. I'm behind, but I knew that already. I think what I'll do is I'll plant the corn in like rows or a block or something, and maybe plant the beans and squash kind of around the outside, or maybe interplant the beans with the corn and then put the squash around the outside. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I've grown pumpkins once or twice before, and it really sprawls and it really takes over everything, which is actually why I'm not sure. I want to grow pumpkins, but they just take over everything. And I also had a big problem with squash bugs with the pumpkins. So I'm debating between the pumpkins and doing another cucumber. The cucumbers don't sprawl quite as much. Their leaves are a lot smaller. They're a bit easy. I find them easier to control. Maybe I'm just not growing my pumpkin the right way. Or maybe I'll do both. I'll do one pump. That's the other thing, is I don't want to plant as many squash plants as most of the plans call for. So I might just do one on the far side and one on this near side and just kind of try to train the vines to kind of grow down the rows of the corn. That would kind of be ideal. That would be creating that cover that's the point of the squash in that system. So anyway, like I said, running, so much to do. So we're going to run out. We're going to go get the alpaca poop. I got to get it back here. I got to put it on the garden today. Get it worked into my soil so I can get that corn planted tomorrow. We're going to get chicken food. And so my van cannot have, so I'm using big garbage cans to haul alpaca manure in my van. So, boy, it would be nice to have a truck, but we don't. So I got to use what I have. I have a minivan. I have big garbage cans, sorry. I put a giant tarp down in the back of my van. Like the back of my van is completely covered in a tarp. So we're going to try not to get poop anywhere. I have little kids. If I have to clean up some poop, it's nothing new in my life. So I think that's all I have, because we want to get running. So yes, I will check back in with you later, hopefully when I have my garden area amended. Thanks. All right, so it's the next day. Time, as usual, got away from me, but I did manage yesterday after getting the poop in the morning. We came home. It was practically lunchtime, so I got lunch for my kids, and then yesterday afternoon, I got this all moved over here. It doesn't look like a lot, but it's a pretty decent amount. I actually think this is probably more than I need for this area, so I'll probably spread some of it in other areas. I think maybe like my melon area could probably use a little boost. And then I also took some of it and I put it in a 5-gallon bucket with some water. And I found these directions online somewhere. And basically it's the kind of the equivalent of making like a compost tea. It's like a poop tea. And I want to use that specifically for, I've got these plants, so you can see on my arch. So that's a sunflower. Next to it is a big, oh sorry, I'm showing you too high. That's a cucumber. It's doing pretty well, it's taking off. And then next to it's a nasturtium. And then this cucumber over here, looking pretty big, doing pretty well, okay? So that's those two cucumbers on that side of the arch. But then, try not to step on anybody. Over here, look at this wimpy, teeny tiny little cucumber. Now, I definitely need to get this area weeded, though I feel like this is the area I've weeded the most, especially around these cucumbers. But that one, and then here's this one, which is a little bit bigger, but still tiny compared to the two on the other side. And I've noticed the same is true on the next arch. I've got cantaloupes on one side and Kajari melons on the other side. And that same side, they're just wimpier plants. They're just smaller plants. So what I'm thinking is, this is like the far end of the garden area that the chickens get to go in. I'm thinking maybe it didn't get fertilized as much. You know, like I moved the mobile coop around in the garden to kind of help spread their manure around without having to actually physically spread the manure around. But I don't stick it in this corner, and they probably don't spend a ton of time in this corner. You know, compared to like the middle near the coop, I probably don't put their food over here all that much. So I'm just thinking this side of the garden needs a little bit more fertilizer. So I'm making this tea, and I am going to use it over here on these plants. Definitely these cucumbers, the Kajari melons. You know, the greens did great, so it can't be in too bad a shape. But I mean, the greens did great, so maybe they used up a bunch of nutrients. My beans, see them down there? They're all about the same on both sides, but they're certainly not all that impressive. Like, they aren't really taking off the way I expected them to. So anyway, so that's the plan with some of the extra poop. So today, we're just busy all day today. There's too many of these days where I'm just like, and I have 10 minutes in the morning in the garden, and then that's it. That's all I can get out here for. I'm going to try to get a little bit of work done out here this morning. I certainly am not going to get too involved in anything. Like, I'm not going to get spreading this yet. I might weed a little bit. I might actually try and pull out kind of that row of weeds right there. I'm going to till the alpaca manure into the soil. And so I was thinking I wouldn't weed too exceptionally well because I'm going to till it in anyway. But I'm kind of looking at these big clumps of weeds, and I'm thinking maybe I should at least pull out some of the bigger stuff just to make it a little bit easier to till, get it spread out a little more evenly. And then the spring area needs tons of attention. I also have what I think are cucumber beetles chewing on my bean plants. Not to the point where I think they're going to kill the plant, but enough that I think I need to come up with something to spray on them. I have neem oil, which I have not used before, and I'm not sure if that's good for that problem or not, so I might need to look that up. We have been harvesting and eating delicious peas. My older daughter especially really likes them, sauteed with butter, and I agree, it's delicious. I also tried to harvest some lettuce the other day, and then I tasted it. And I knew it was starting to bolt. It was kind of starting to do that kind of that build up it does before it takes off and bolts. It was so bitter. I was hoping I could squeeze out another harvest or two, but I tasted it and I was like, well, if I used a really strong dressing, no. I was like, no, this is silly. Don't force yourself to eat bitter lettuce. That's just silly. So anyway, I'm going to try to get a little bit of work done today. My tomato plants are looking good. I've started sticking some of the extra plants in here and there. I only have a couple, so we'll see. But yeah, so I'm going to try and do a little bit of weeding and hopefully get everything ready. So tomorrow's supposed to be nice. It's supposed to be cool. My parents are going to be here to help with, and so someone can watch the kids. And I'm going to hope to spend most of tomorrow out here getting this done. Getting the alpaca manure tilled in. I see you way up there. Getting stuff done. Thank you for watching.